Are you curious how to start with a log and get it mounted to your lathe to make a bowl? We've already sharpened our chainsaw blade, so let's get to work.
Welcome to Turning Stitches, I'm Sean. We help woodturners learn the craft to begin making fun projects faster. Today we're starting out in a different location. We're outside in the backyard and we're preparing bowl blanks from these logs. If you've ever wondered how to do this or you want to learn more about it, stick around and we're going to go through it. Now this log that I've got here in front of me is kind of a special one. A family recently reached out. They had this tree come down. It's a sweet gum tree, and they wanted some bowls made out of the remnant logs when they had to take it down. So that's what we're working on today. We're going to process some bowl blanks, and we have a very specific bowl that we're shooting for today. We're looking for a finished 8-inch serving bowl. We want to get as many bowls as we can out of this log and another one that's very similar to it. So that's what we're working on. Since I know what size bowl blank I need out of this log, I'm going to be using the tape measure today a lot more than I normally do. The maximum bowl that we can get out of any blank is really the diameter of the log. In this case, it's about 12 inches around, and it's pretty consistent on these logs. Now, I'm looking for a finished bowl that's 8 inches, so I need to give myself some space. So I'm going to cut this in 10-inch segments. I've got one segment here, and let's cut the next segment. Since this cut's not perfectly straight, I'm going to use a rope to help me kind of mark all the way around the bowl or all the way around the log in a pretty consistent manner. This is a little bit easier than trying to measure 10 inches from multiple places, and this will get me a pretty good diameter all the way around. We'll mark this out and it'll help. Now, a faster way to do this is if you've got a little spray paint in the shop, you can put the rope on here, hit it with some spray paint, and then cut right where the rope is. I don't have any spray paint, so we're just going to mark, just kind of use the rope as a guide, and that'll get us close enough. With kind of a guide mark most of the way around the log, we've got our chainsaw out, and now we're just going to cut this end off.
If you're getting value out of the video so far, hit that like button.
With our logs cut down to size, now it's time to split the log in half in this direction, and then we'll have a bowl blank on this side and a bowl blank on that side. I do want to remove the pith, so I'm going to try to cut down right through the pith as much as possible, and then we'll remove the rest of it at the lathe. Another way to do this is to make two cuts, kind of isolating the pith, cutting on either side of the pith with your chainsaw. I learned the hard way in trying to make cuts like this where I'm dividing this log in half. If I stand the log on end and cut straight down, we're cutting straight into that end grain, which is a really challenging cut. So I have the log oriented this way, and we're going to cut with the grain, which will be a much faster, more efficient cut for our saw. Before we get started, I want to mark the pith as much as I can just to kind of get an idea of where it's going. And I'll ultimately have to rotate this log over. So I'm going to mark this end, try to get a good mark here where I can see it. We'll try to follow this as much as possible. And on this log, the pith is really pretty close to the center, which is nice. That's not always the case, but in this case, it is pretty close to the center. So we should have two pretty identical pieces when we're done. I'm going to mark the back side as well. Of course, our cut won't be that precise. I'm never that good with a chainsaw. So we've got our log sections cut in half now. So now I want to take and get a rough circle at the bandsaw, which will just make it a lot easier to rough turn these bowls. So I have these discs, you know, one that's 10, one that's 9 inches around. They're just cardboard. And all I do is try to get the kind of largest one. So we were shooting for a 10-inch length here, and we're pretty close on this one. I'm just going to take and drill a quick pilot hole here and hold that in place with the screw. And then we'll take this over to the bandsaw and we'll cut around the cardboard disc. Now we're at the bandsaw. We're just going to cut around our cardboard disc, and then our blank will be ready to be mounted to the lathe.
Make sure you subscribe to the channel to make it easy to come back and see how we rough turn these bowls.
All right, and our bowl blank's ready to go to the lathe. We'll either mount a faceplate or put a wormwood screw here in the middle to mount it for the rough turning, and we're ready to get to the lathe on this one.